listening to A One Pint Stand, a Minnesota craft beer podcast that tells the stories of craft beer in Minnesota and beyond. This episode of A One Pint Stand is proudly sponsored by First Draft Tap Solutions, a local Minnesota line cleaning business with a personal touch. So kick back, relax, and grab a cold one. The show starts now. Hello, my name is Dan Bobian, and I write, produce, and host A One Pint Stand. I'm ecstatic that you're listening. This podcast has been a passion project of mine since 2016. On this episode, I sit down with Jeff Crane, a co-owner of Trove Brewing, and Nate Schneider, an investor at Trove. Trove Brewing opened in Burnsville last fall, and I've been wanting to get down there after hearing a lot of great things about the beer and the space. My friend Nate, who I know through Invictus and the Minnesota Craft Brewers Guild, is involved at Trove as an investor, and we run into each other all the time, and every time we get together, we say, hey, when are we going to sit down and record a podcast? And stars were in alignment, and we got it on the calendar. So Trove really impressed me, and I enjoyed chatting with Jeff, who has had a lengthy career in craft beer through various avenues. It's always fun when the conversation flows as effortlessly as the Kolsch. So let's head out to Trove Brewing in Burnsville, Minnesota. Cheers. Welcome to another on-location episode of A One Pint Stand. My name is Dan Bobian, and we are here at Trove Brewing Company in Burnsville, Minnesota. And I'm being joined by Jeff Crane and Nate Schneider. Gentlemen, thank you for having me down here.
Yeah, thanks for coming down. We appreciate it.
It's always a good time hanging out with Dan.
Yeah, so we've got, now, those of you who are listening, maybe you're saying, hey, this Nate guy, he sounds familiar. Well, you'd be correct, because we did a deep dive on with Nate last summer. It actually turned into a kind of a two-part podcast marathon, because you have the gift of gab, my friend. You're the ideal podcast guest, because I can ask a question and then kind of sit back and balance my checkbook and go do the laundry, and you just take the ball and run with it. So
the fun coincidence is my mom always said I had a face for radio, so I take those compliments and I put them hand in hand.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, it'll be interesting to see if you can keep up word for word.
I will do my best.
Okay. So, as I mentioned before, we're here at Trove Brewing Company in Burnsville, and this has been open since last October.
Correct.
And it's a really cool spot.
Thanks.
I will be honest and say that when it's in a strip mall, and it's right next to LA Fitness. And I will say, if there was a brewery next to the LA Fitness that I go to, I would not be making any progress with my fitness journey. So I'm jealous of the folks that can come and wet their whistle after having a good workout. But it's in a strip mall, so it's kind of a nondescript, although there are some nice picnic tables out here and kind of like a little patio area with some string lights for some ambiance. But really, when you come in, I was like blown away with the amount of character in the tap room here at Trove. So this is very exciting. I'm happy I came down. I've got a lot of questions about the brewery. But before we get into that, Jeff, do you want to kind of introduce yourself? Tell me, if you remember, what was the first beer that ever got you into craft beer? And what is like a beer that is always in your beer fridge?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm originally from California. Grew up on the West Coast, Northern California, Bay Area, and got into craft beer pretty early. Started working at a brewery out in California called Pyramid Ales and Lagers. Started when I was about 22, and worked for them for about 14 years in their front house. I bussed tables, and then I started bartending, and then I started managing, and then I became the GM for about 4+ years for their tap room. They served beer, wine, food, and they had a 125-barrel brew system, all built in Germany. It was a huge production facility for Pyramid. And that's kind of where I started my craft beer journey. So one of my very first craft beers that I remember trying, I was at a liquor store in Berkeley, and I was walking by one of the coolers, and I saw a beer that said Arrogant Bastard Ale.
Oh, okay.
And it said on the bottle, I was reading, it says, "You're not worthy." And I was like, well, no, I got to try it, right?
It's the best marketing campaign in the world.
That's right.
It got
Insult
me.
somebody right off the bat.
Right off the
That
bat.
works, like-
And I picked up that bomber and I took it home, and that was one of my first, like, true West Coast style, IPAs that I just immediately fell in love with, and never really looked back from there. I mean, I dabbled earlier in some other beers, but that was the first one that really, from Stone, that really got me.
Okay.
And then over at Pyramid, obviously, there was a ton of beers that they produced that kept me going. And one of the questions of beer that's always in my fridge is usually Sierra Nevada, mostly because I grew up out there. And so it's just like I love having
And
them
take
in my
the
fridge.
man
and,
out of California, but you can't take California out of man.
and they just, it's near and dear to my heart, and I love a lot of things that they do. But also Two-Hearted, you know what I mean?
So I was gonna say, like, interject, and
Yeah.
my ADHD fights for
Yeah.
me to not interject all the time. But the one that's been in my fridge like all summer has been Bell's Two Hearted. This variety pack now,
Oh, right.
and in that variety pack they've got their black IPA.
Right, Black-Hearted, yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Very
wow.
good.
I have had
Yeah.
that so many times this summer. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
It is fantastic. They do a great job. But yeah, so I mean, my career craft beer started early and fell in love with it. And I had where I lived in Berkeley, I had a craft. It was a brew shop like half a block away from my house, but never really dabbled in it, and I should have. And I
Yeah.
look back on it now, and I really wish I would have, but didn't really get into it then. But it been in the craft industry, for a long time, and that's how I kind of got started. So,
Awesome.
yep.
How about you, Nate? Industry veteran. So do you just want to explain kind of like your role at Trove and then some of the other craft beer hats that you wear? And then the same beer questions?
Well, I would say as far as the role at Trove, it's virtually non-existent. I throw a helping hand in wherever it is I possibly can. But for
Very
the most
helping,
part,
yes.
I'm just a guy who had a little bit of extra money laying around, which is very rare in today's age. And I met Jeffrey a long time ago, and he'd give me a pitch at a certain point, which we can get into that in a little bit, that I thought was a great idea. And so I've just been a part of this. I'm happy to show up once a month or so when I can make the trek to Burnsville and have a beer and hang out.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the guy who runs the show and makes it happen, it's Jeffrey and his wife Angie, and Frank too. Frank does a great job.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. What's the beer? Do you remember your first beer that got you into craft?
Well, so I was going to ask a question for Jeffrey really quick that I think would tie to mind. Was your first beer or your Arrogant Bastard experience, was that when you were at Pyramid? Did you wait until you got into the industry to start drinking craft beer?
No, it was a little before, yeah.
Was
So,
it?
Yeah.
Because so my first like craft beer was I got a part-time job at a G-Will liquor store when I got suspended from college. And somebody had given me like a random mix pack of things that were just like lingering around that they were trying to get rid of. And like one of the first craft beers I ever had was Buffalo Sweat.
Oh.
If you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is a relatively I mean, like Arrogant Bastard, that's an aggressive first like craft beer too. That's
Yeah.
pretty in your face. But also like the double chocolate stouts is like, oh, you're not drinking Miller High Life Light anymore. Like this is a drastically different thing.
Yeah, that. If I remember correctly, that one was pretty roasty.
Oh, it's such a good beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a great job with it. But when you've grown up your entire life drinking, my house it was Miller High Life Lights and Hams, and so that transition over, you're like, this is bad, right? This beer's gone bad. Why is it so dark? This isn't right.
Right.
Yeah.
What's a beer that you always have in your fridge?
So like I said, the Bell's Black-Hearted, that's been in my fridge quite a bit lately. For years, I've been the biggest advocate for Dogfish Head Sea Quench. If you guys know that one, I think that is like the perfect level of like sour, light, sessionable, crisp. Like it's got all the right adjectives in there. And especially when we've got like these 80-degree days outside right now, I can go outside and like mow my lawn and like have a sea quench and like.
And it's so thirst quenching.
Yeah.
I love the black limes in there. The way that comes across is so good.
Yep, they do a great job. And one of my dreams is to eventually meet Sam. I can never say his last name.
Calagione.
Right? That's what I said. Exactly.
Oh,
Pay
nicely
attention.
done.
One day I'll meet him. He's been such a craft beer personality forever.
Yeah.
And a great role model, too, and like what it is you can do when you get into this space. So, no, it's a great beer and good brewery and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I had the incredible opportunity in 2018. There used to be a craft beer bloggers and writers conference every summer, and they'd go to, a beer destination, and then they picked, in 2018, they did Loudoun County, Virginia, and then there's always like a pre-excursion, and so I signed up to do the pre-excursion up to Dogfish Head in Delaware, Milton, Delaware. We stayed at the Dogfish Head Inn. They have like a little boutique hotel out there. And so they picked us up at the hotel in just outside of DC, and then we get on this tour bus, and there are 2 big ass Yeti coolers filled with Dogfish Head.
Yeah.
One of
Nice.
them solely sequenced because it had just kind of come out, so they're really trying to
Push
get
it.
the buzz
Yeah.
going.
Yep.
No pun intended. And we just it was like a 3-hour bus ride. We detoured to the Guinness Brewery in Maryland. In Baltimore, Maryland, to pick up another group who had done a pre-excursion, and then they got on the buses, and it was just wild. And we went to the Dogfish Head Brewery and had dinner, and then Sam and his wife were there, and we all got to go into the brew house and do a fireside chat while he was brewing 120-minute IPA, and we drank 120-minute IPA that has been aged for 10 years, and it was like
Wow.
sweet, smooth. It's like one of those experiences that you never forget. So that was I too have a special place in my heart for Sam Calagione.
So it's a realistic role model that I should be like keeping in my head.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, do you know Megan Parker?
Oh, the name sounds familiar.
I'm sure your paths. She works for Sam Adams / Dogfish Head, and she goes out there like a couple times a year. You should just.
Megan, if you're listening,
Yeah,
let's
Megan.
connect.
He will be your carry-on luggage. He's very. He can just. Get him out to Dogfish Head. So it's cool. Craft beer. It's fun. It's fun to to have those people, because there are a lot of people in craft beer that we kind of man, that person has just such a cool legacy, or the vibe, or it's just fun. It's just fun.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to go back to Pyramid, because in my mind, another thing just triggered. First of all, I believe the name of that IPA that I was obsessed with for a brief spell was called Sunburst. But didn't Pyramid also have an award-winning Hefeweizen?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I can picture the label art.
Their flagship was Hefeweizen. They had apricot ale. They had a winter beer that was probably my favorite, which was called Snowcap. That was extremely popular. I mean, huge parties just for Snowcap.
Yeah, it sounds familiar to me, but
Yeah. And so it's, they had a huge lineup, fantastic beers. Unfortunately, they got bought out several times, and then kind of decimated over the years and shut down their production facility in Berkeley and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah. But some fantastic beers coming out of there.
Yeah. So you started working there in what year?
Oh, gosh. I think it was 1997.
Okay.
Yes.
97.
As a busser, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And worked my way up in bartending because, that's where the money was.
Yeah.
So during college, that's how I got through.
Okay.
And then worked my way into management, and then learned all I could about beer, and started giving brewery tours, and and started to teach people how to give brewery tours, and learned all about the beer process that way. Befriended the head brewer over there, is Simon Pesh. He no longer works there, but he now lives in Hong Kong, I think. But
Okay.
he was fantastic, and it was just a great place to grow up in the beer world, because we did all kinds of beer events out in the parking lot, like movie nights.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff, and beer festivals, and it was just, I was just, I was submerged in the beer culture for about 14 years, and it was fantastic until I got to be their GM which kind of elevated me a little bit and, taught me a lot about how to run a brew pub, run a business. So, yeah, that was really good for me. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you're out in California learning the brew pub business. What brought you back to Minnesota?
My wife and my wife's family. They're from Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Ah, okay.
Yep. And
It's always family and love. Family and love is the reason why people come to Minnesota.
Yeah.
We decided we want to come back here, and we moved back in 2011. Actually, did a small stint at Joe's Crab Shack as a GM over there. Yeah. I'm not going to say how I really feel about it, but it wasn't the best experience. Let's put it that way. And so I knew I wanted to get back closer to beer. So I decided I was going to, put the feelers out and then ended up getting a job over at Granite City. And Granite City at the time, used to be a little bit bigger of a beer giant at the beginning.
Yeah.
Especially before the Surly Bill. But those days were kind of waning at that time. But they were looking to up their beer game a little bit. So we started beer programs, trying to put new beers into the system, trying to come up with new recipes, all that kind of stuff. So they hired me to help them with that as a regional brewer over there. So I would drive around and finish beers in their cellars. Because as I would imagine most people know, Granite City actually brews the wort in another location.
I wouldn't say that a lot of people know that. I mean, that might be
Yeah.
that might be
I
an
didn't
educational
know that.
point.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that is a really good talking point because what they would do is they would brew the wort in Iowa, Ellsworth, Iowa,
Okay.
on a 25-barrel system down there. Then they would chill the wort down to about 34 degrees, 36, somewhere around there, put it in bright tanks at a big cooler. From there, then they'd do is they would offload it into trailers. Each trailer had about 14 pods. Each pod held about 350 gallons of wort, all
Okay.
refrigerated, right? Then we take that wort and we transport it over state lines into all of our facilities, all of our restaurants and our footprint across the Midwest. So then when we got there, we would then offload that wort, and on the way from the truck to the fermenter, because in each restaurant they had usually about 5 fermenters.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we would warm the wort up, and so it's like a reverse, heat exchange.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we'd heat the wort up to fermentation temp instantly, coming off the truck, put it into the fermenter, pitcher yeast, ferment, condition, filter, and then carbonate and pour. So off of bright tanks that were in coolers. They were single walled. And so that's what Granite City did. And it offered them some opportunities that were a little different. Thinking outside of the box, I know a lot of people kind of poo-poo the idea of transporting wort, and I get it, but I'll get to that in a minute. But the biggest thing is what saved them, they didn't have to pay for taxes because it was not beer going over state lines. Right.
I was thinking there's got to be some sort of financial or some
Correct.
that was invented to subvert some kind of law or
Correct.
something. Okay.
So it's not booze yet. It's
Yeah.
just sweet barley water. It's just wort. It doesn't come booze until it gets into the restaurant. So once we did that, but also the other benefit is all of the water, all of the wort came from one location. So that means
so the flavor profile was
the same.
consistent.
So if you had
Okay.
it in in Iowa, or you had it up here in Minnesota, as long as we weren't messing it up in the cellar room, then the beer should be consistent. The beer should taste the same, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because all the processes were the same and that kind of thing. So, learning how to brew on this type of system was eye-opening. It was all about cleanliness, clean.
Yeah.
Even more than normal, because a lot of people, when they hear that you're transporting wort, it makes them cringe a little bit. Trust me, I've gotten that from some breweries around the world. But the thing is we worked really hard. There's a group of people that worked really hard to make sure that the wort, that when it went out, was proper and it was tested. So we had a lab that would test the wort before it went out. We had our own yeast propagation for the longest time. We propagated our own yeast in-house down in Iowa. But there's a lot of people making sure that wort, when it left the building, was where it needed to be. On top of that, we also did lab testing on all of the beer finished product out on the field.
Okay.
So it would come back to the warehouse. They would do tests on it. to make sure that if anything was, coming back dirty or anything like that, then they would let us know. We have to do, deep cleans on those tanks and make sure that the process was clean from start to finish. So there's a lot of hardworking people that made this happen. And so for me, it was a very interesting way to learn how to brew. You know what I mean? And so there's advantages and disadvantages in it. But overall, I felt like, Granite City did a really good job at trying to stay true to styles, trying to stay true to the brew process. The only thing we did was transport works. I mean, we even won a silver medal for our Benny Bach at the Great American Beer Festival for one of our beers. You know what I mean? So I'd put those beers up against anybody else's because they were good. They are good. You know what I mean? And so they worked really hard. I mean, unfortunately, Granite City, wasn't keeping up with all the beer styles and all that kind of stuff, and that's where I came in to try and help them do that over 12 years. So,
give them a little bit of a kind of a facelift as far as like their portfolio and stuff.
What was the hot trends? What was going on out there? So they started sending us out to CBC and beer festivals and all that kind of stuff. And so I did a lot of that and was on the Minnesota beer circuit for a very long time, trying to make my way into the the beer world out here in Minnesota. So it was an interesting ride.
That's interesting. I think it's I've always thought of it as kind of a restaurant first, but now that you're kind of taking me back through that, I remember that I always seeing the tanks and I wonder if they.
Yes.
I'm like, is there a
we used to get
brewery
that a lot.
back there? Like, I always wondered.
It's
like,
not just a facade.
People
but something happened.
Are those real?
just like a shade that you draw up, and there's just like some guy making omelets. It's like, wait, where'd the tanks go?
No, it was actually us working back there doing cellar work for sure. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's fascinating. Yeah, I don't think many people know that, which is interesting. And I remember going. I live in St. Paul, but I'd go to the Roseville one.
Yep.
Their
Rest in
breakfast brunch.
Their brunches are always amazing.
Oh my god!
Yes, some of the
Those
best in
garlic
town.
potatoes, whatever
and their cinnamon rolls,
devils.
forget about it.
Cinnamon rolls. I'd plop them on the side of my head like Princess Leia, and then, sir, you need to leave. Delicious stuff.
Yeah. Really good.
So that brew pub knowledge must. Is there a lot of? I mean, Trove is a brewery.
Yeah.
So no food.
No food.
Do you feel like there's a lot of what lessons learned along the brew pub general manager path have you found to be really helpful in the brewery setting?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was I was hyper focused on beer, producing the best beer that I could, and at the moment, food seemed a little bit like of a financial drag. We know that it brings people in. We do know that. So I know it's really tough to run, and the margins are not as big on food and all that kind of stuff, but it does help, breweries be solvent and stuff like that. So I'm, pretty aware of that. But at the same time, I didn't want to run a restaurant right away. I wanted to focus on beer and beer styles and just create an atmosphere in a tap room that I felt like fits our vision for the brewery, because we wanted to build a brand and, you know what I mean, kind of around this, and not just a brewery, but a little bit of a brand as well. And so we have a mantra going through everything that you see here and what we do. And my wife and I run it, so it's a small mom and pop, brewery, but it doesn't mean that it can't be great beer and with purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
well, having industry experience from California. I mean, when I think of California, it is very much part of the craft beer DNA of this country.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you probably have hundreds of examples of this brewery worked because they did this. This brewery worked because they did this. And whereas a lot of, not to sell the Minnesota craft beer scene short, but it's fairly we're kind of I feel like we're just getting into our we're the moody adolescents now. We were the toddlers for a while. I was like, oh, it's cute. You guys have a beer scene, and then people started noticing. I mean, we had CBC here a couple of years ago, and everybody I talked to was
fantastic.
Absolutely blown away. They're like, what the hell's going on here? This is amazing. Why isn't nobody else talking about this? I'm like, because we're flyover country.
Right.
So I have to imagine people starting breweries here, maybe unless they've traveled, they don't know what craft beer culture is like. So let's backtrack a little bit. And tell me, what was the kind of motivation for starting a brewery, and how did you come upon the name, the theme, kind of like the ethos of it all?
Sure. So we were, well, actually, a couple different things. The first one is that earlier we were talking about 2011, we're sitting at Surly at their OG tap room, and it was my birthday, and my wife was like, I think we could probably do something like this, right? And that was just kind of like the flickering of it, you know what I mean? And I was like, all right, yeah, I mean, that's something that, because I wanted to get into and, get kind of going. But then, as things grew, as my confidence grew brewing beer with Granite City, it became abundantly clear that I could do this, you know what I mean? That I ran a $4 million a year tap room, and I also can brew beer, and I want to put those two things together. You know what I mean? So for me, it was one of those things where it's just like, I really feel like, we could come up with something that people would really like and enjoy and want to come back to, and which led us to Trove. And actually, it didn't start out as Trove. We actually had an LLC under Meta Brewing.
Okay.
And when we talked to the lawyer about it, there's this little small brewery. I don't even know. It may have been a home brewer. I'm not really sure, but he said we might have problems with that mark, the trademark.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. And I wish we would have kept it because maybe Mark Zuckerberg would have bought me out and bankrolled this whole thing.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, was
you know what I mean?
Facebook a problem? Because now they're like Meta.
Well, and I changed it before all that happened, and after it happened, I was like, missed opportunity.
That was my ticket to Hawaii.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
but then we're back to square one with trying to find a name. And we were talking a lot about the look and feel of the tap room that we wanted. And my wife, Angie, came up with Trove. And I immediately loved it because there was something there about it, something I really liked. And the meaning of Trove is a store or chest full of delightful things.
Okay.
So like a treasure trove. And so I immediately started to click that maybe could be something that could tie into our tap room feel. We wanted to be more speakeasy, brew hall vibe.
Yeah.
And then we landed on the key because we felt like the ornate key was something that kind of fit that as well, and that's something we can use as a moniker to push out for our marketing on shirts and all that kind of stuff. So when you walk in the tap room, it's very key and lock motif heavy. Yeah.
Well, and just there's so many little kind of little, I don't want to call them Easter eggs, but as you were kind of showing me around when I got here, the hooks underneath the bar where you where somebody might hang their bag or their fanny pack or whatever. A lot of places have those little hooks.
Right.
You've got doorknobs, antique doorknobs with a little key, and what struck me when I walked in, it was the tables.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so cool, because a lot of times I just cannot stand, and I get why breweries have these because I'm sure they're very easy on the pocket. But
don't say picnic tables.
No, I'm going to say those steel chairs
yeah.
that put your butt to sleep within the first 3 minutes, and in most cases, my butt can stay awake for at least 10 minutes before anything happens. And those are just so bad. But it's that's they're everywhere.
Right.
And I understand why. But I was like, each kind of section, each table has different chairs. And that creates just kind of a cool vibe. The aesthetic in here is very comforting, despite the fact that it is quite large and open.
Yeah.
And so, that, it kind of has a little bit of a speakeasy feel. Like the bar stools are kind of darker. Everything is dark. I like the dark wood.
Yep.
The paint behind the bar is a darker color with all those keys.
Yep.
And the light, Edison
bulbs
are really cool. So it's kind of like a weird, not weird, but a unique confluence between kind of an industrial space, but then also cozy.
Right. And that was definitely something my wife wanted. She did all of this out here. I mean, she was the mastermind behind all of it. You know what I mean? In the tap room, and she was the big driving force on here, and she did a great job. It took a better part of a year to find all these tables and church pews and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. You know what I mean? So rating everybody's houses.
Oh, and I
on
didn't even
Facebook
see like
Marketplace.
there's like a half bar that looks into like a half
brewery.
wall with a bar with stools over that looks into the brewery.
Yeah. So we want a little bit of space for everybody. We have a lounge area with couches, all that kind of stuff. So some Victorian couches and things like that. So it was a whole thing that we knew we wanted from kind of from the beginning. I mean, it goes even to the beer names, to all that kind of stuff, the vibe and the feel that we're trying to reproduce. Because one thing that I learned from Pyramid is that you can build a brand. You know what I mean? It doesn't take a lot. You just have to have a good idea of what you want and follow through with it and stay true to it. So,
Yeah. Well, this is interesting, and we should have mentioned this earlier, but I started off drinking the Kolsch,
Oh yeah.
the
Sideshow.
sideshow. Okay, this is really clean, really easy drinking, really crisp. Kind of like checks all the boxes.
Yep.
You've got 12 taps.
Yep.
And you've got, I mean, the majority of it is beer, but I do see there is a seltzer,
Yep.
and you do have an NA option.
Yep.
So kind of like a very, I mean, in this day and age, I think you need to have multiple things because there's a lot of space. You want people to pack, and it's not just little like teeny tiny tables. There's like a lot of space for a whole family to come in here. When you were looking at locations, what about this? Well, what about Burnsville in general, but then more specifically the spot we're in now? What appealed to you?
Sure. So we were looking for something south of 494. That was the stipulation because we do live down here, but also we felt like we needed to have more breweries down in this area.
There's not much.
It's not as much, and it's like I feel like there's like thousands of people moving down here, and hundreds of homes being built. We just felt it was a really good area, and then when we found this spot, the first thing that struck us was parking. Really good parking.
Yeah,
it's always nice.
This is
So it's the first thing.
Nate, I know you're in your early 30s, and you probably don't think about parking, but when you reach your 40s, parking will be like the number one thing you think about, whether or not you want to leave your house.
Yes.
Am I going to have to park?
I have to walk 4
Can
blocks.
do I need to that's why like Uptown essentially does not exist to me anymore, because like you got to parallel park and just like that's just something I want to prep you for that.
Yes.
When you
as you get older.
So
it's a ways off. You don't need to worry.
I drive the really obnoxious big lifted 35-inch tire Jeep, so like parallel parking that's difficult for me too. I still do it, but I've used the anecdotal saying of like my legs ain't broke, I can walk over and over again. My wife, on the other hand, the fun story for me, she is love her to death, horrible driver, and not the best at parking. And like even just the other day, we went and we parked over outside of our gym. We're on like the polar opposite side of the actual space, where an entire parking lot away. She's like, "Well, the car is in the lines," and I was like, "Yeah, but now I get to make this trek before I exercise." I mean, so I'm getting to that point. I understand.
Yeah, okay, I'm just saying it's eventually it's going to be on the horizon. But that
Parking is a big deal.
Parking is,
And so then when we came into this space, it had been empty since 2015. It was a Chinese buffet, so it was a restaurant beforehand. And when you first come up, it's kind of non-assuming. You come in, all of a sudden, boom, it's a 7,100 square foot spot that we really liked, that had some potential for a patio up front, that had potential for a split between brewery and tap room, but also had bathrooms. I'm sure that if there's any other breweries listening, when they're opening up their own breweries, that bathrooms are really expensive. And the bathrooms were still intact. Everything else was demoed in here.
okay.
So for us, the bathrooms was a big deal. New HVAC units on the roof. Drainage was good. I know I'm getting into minutia, but like power was good. Like all these things.
But those are those are things that if it doesn't exist, I have to imagine, especially post-COVID, extremely expensive.
Really expensive.
Yeah.
And so we're a mom and pop operation. So anything that we can do to save money was a box checked for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so those things all checked boxes for us, and we just like fell in love with it instantly. And like this is all gonna work, and could instantly envision like where everything was gonna go. And now, so it's just one of those times where you're like, yep, this is it. This is the spot. It's right off 42 and 5, you know what I mean? So it's like a really like busy street. They're rebuilding all kinds of stuff over here. We just feel like maybe we're getting it at the right time.
Yeah.
Landlord was stoked to have us in here. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, he's really happy, and so because it obviously been empty for a while, and so trying to breathe some life into this area. So, yeah.
Well, and so the other thing that is, you know, I live in St. Paul. Didn't take me too long to get down here.
Yeah.
It's also you're in very close, well, super close proximity to Ineffable,
Ineffable,
which is
right across
literally
the
just
street.
like right across the street, and then Brixworth, you said was about 10 minutes. Is
North,
that
I think, yeah.
northwest kind of?
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that you know there are places, cities in Minnesota that don't even have one craft brewery,
Right.
but like Burnsville now has three.
Has three.
Which is interesting to me because I think that like, you know, you being from the West Coast understand that like, and I was kind of like surprised the first couple times I visited a city that had a much more mature craft beer scene than Minnesota,
Yeah.
because I saw families and like there's a lot of brewery owners that you talk to in Minnesota that have some very strong opinions of like should they have kids, should they not have kids in breweries.
Sure.
And like if you go to Michigan, if you go to Oregon, if you go to Washington State, if you go to California, breweries are for everybody. And it seems
Yes.
that like there's a level of education that happens with kids. Like we're not going, this is not the Minnesota Zoo. You're not going to run
Right.
wild. You're going to, and parents, there's an expectation that they're going to like pay attention to their kids, watch their kids, make sure they're not like harassing other people.
Correct.
It's part of the culture.
Right.
Do you think that Burnsville as a specific city is kind of like starting to really get into the craft beer culture? Because when
Yeah.
I go to a brewery, I don't just like go to one place.
Right.
Do you get a lot of cross pollination with the other your
do.
craft beer neighbors?
And it's a great question because, I mean, first off, mom and dad need beer too.
Yes.
Yes, they do. But second off, yeah, I mean, you know, Ineffable is a great partner across the street, and you know, I feel like maybe we can, you know, help them, you know, because it's like when it comes to parking, because people can park here and go over. I can't tell you how many times people are like, we're just at Ineffable, or we're going to Ineffable right after.
Yeah.
That come in here and do that kind of thing, so they can come in here, have beers, then go over there and eat, and
It seems
and
like their parking lot is a lot smaller.
it's a lot smaller.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, you know what I mean? So I'm hoping that helps, you know, everybody, but they're, you know, the people that run it are amazing. Their staff is awesome. They come in here from time to time and drink beer, you know what I mean? Just trying to cultivate that, you know, with them. They can come in here and, you know, have some good beers and hang out and, you know, do that type of thing. But then, like, even, and Brixworth, you know, some of the people, bartenders over there send people down here, especially when we have certain food trucks that they like and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's been a really good relationship so far when it comes to us three. You know what I mean? Down here in Burnsville, I feel like, you know, it's just been a positive thing, and hopefully, you know, more people appreciate the fact there's beer down this way, and more people come down this way from the cities, because there's a lot of good beer down here now. They're starting to be. So,
Yeah.
Well, and if I can interject to it,
Yeah.
just I feel like not just the craft beer scene, but I feel like the city of Burnsville itself is really trying hard for, like, lack there better of saying, a revitalization. You know,
Correct.
the mall has had its ups and downs and whatnot, but I heard just recently there's been a new buyer who purchased the place who's
Yeah.
looking to kind of, you know, introduce low rent and, you know, try to bring a bunch of people in so that way.
Right.
That's a new hub. You can look right out the window and see the construction going on out in the parking lot here and across the
Right.
street. And, like, there are more businesses opening up, more foot traffic that's going to be going on.
And I apologize to Burnsville, because I should say that they've been a great partner. I mean, they just have been like awesome to work with, you know, expediting things and just improving stuff, and just been really easy, not a lot of red tape, just to be able to move things through for us. And yeah, I mean, I really feel like Burnsville's invested at reinvesting, you know, so
Yeah.
it's been really good down here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yep.
Well, I see 3 empty glasses at the table, and that's usually my nonverbal cue that we're going to
Yes.
take a break. I want to try something different. This
Okay.
Kolsch was delicious, but you know, this is so far so good. I haven't even. With all the keys, do people ever think that this might be an escape room? Do you get that a lot? Because you know
That's the next branch of the business.
Oh,
so just ahead.
fantastic. We've let the cat out of the bag. All right. So we're down here at Trove Brewing in Burnsville, Minnesota, and you're listening to a One Pint Stand. We'll be back in a few. Hey, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you're enjoying a One Pint Stand. My aim is to help spread the word about craft beer. Enjoying craft beer is a passion of mine, and I love chatting about it with other people. A One Pint Stand has a goal of helping breweries tell their stories. I love to get out in and beyond Minnesota to visit breweries, beer bars, and meet other interesting beer people. If you are also into those things, you will probably want to keep tabs on the show. So go ahead and follow A One Pint Stand on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We would also appreciate any and all positive reviews on Spotify and Apple Music to make it easier for other craft beer listeners to find us. If you like reading about craft beer, you can find all the content of the written variety at aonepintstand.com. I truly appreciate you listening and taking time to enjoy our stories. Now, before we head back to the show, I want to talk about this episode's sponsor, First Draft Tap Solutions. Brett Erickson runs the show and uses his over a decade-long experience as a craft brewer to provide a hands-on approach to line cleaning, draft installation, and technical support. If you are looking for a quality experience with someone who will get the job done right, give First Draft Tap Solutions a pour. To get in touch with Brett, email him at firstdrafttapsolutions@gmail.com or give him a call at 612-839-5304. Brett has a manageable number of clients to ensure that he's able to give you an amazing level of service. So check out First Draft Tap Solutions for all your line cleaning and draft installation needs. Now, back to the show.
How about a beer?
Okay, we're back after a little break. Now, I ordered my first beer was a full pour of Kolsch, which was delicious. I'm like, oh wait, I could try more beers if I get smaller pours. So I've got these little. I'm assuming you use these for your Kolsch service.
For the Kolsch service, yes.
So the Stang glasses, I believe, is what they're called. So I've got some Hefeweizen, some West Coast IPA, and some
Cherry vanilla porter.
Cherry vanilla porter. So I'm excited as I drink them. First, I've had a few sips of the Hefeweizen. It's delicious.
Thank you.
Very perfect for summer.
Yes.
I'm guessing maybe there's like some influence from way back at Pyramid. So you probably drank quite a bit of this back in the day.
The Hefeweizen from Pyramid was an American-style Hefeweizen.
Oh.
And it was kind of a hybrid between ale and a lager and had no banana, no clove. It was very citrusy. It's served with a lemon. And so
weird.
it was an American-style Hefeweizen. And I almost did that, but I was like, you know what? We're going to be a little more traditional with the Hefeweizen.
I like the traditional. I like those aromas.
Yeah, the yeast that we use is amazing. Just let the grain bill and the hops, just kind of take a backseat to the to that yeast. So
Yeah. Well, that's the perfect segue. We talked about like the tap room. Do you want to talk a little bit about the brew house where the liquid sausage is made? So what I appreciate as a kind of a local beer enthusiast when you can actually see into the brew house.
Yeah.
Why the decision to make that happen as opposed to like walling it off?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, a little bit it was about money, but most of it is I grew up, at Pyramid. There's a huge glass wall there that looks right into the brew deck. And the brew deck was right up against the restaurant. And so I love that part of it. Love to be able to look into it. But the brewery itself, I wanted it to, I just didn't know, like when I first opened, how much help I was going to get if I was going to have to do this all by myself. So I wanted everything to flow, left to right. I wanted everything to be manageable in the workload.
Okay.
And so I designed everything to make sure that, grain comes in on the left, gets, turned into beer, kick it off in the fermenter, and roll it right into a cooler, which is a direct draw system. So,
okay.
So for me, it was form and function, trying to get all this stuff in place so we can reduce labor when it comes to brewing beer. So I've worked in a lot of, shall we say, small breweries.
Okay.
Brews-inducing small breweries. where I was just like, for me, I had an idea and a vision of what I wanted it to be, and this fit it perfectly. I wanted, be able to walk around your fermenters and clean them properly, and things like that. And a lot of breweries that worked at Granite City were tiny, and so I know I didn't want that. So that really definitely inspired what the taproom or the brewery is today. So
Yeah. Talk to me about your brewing philosophy. Now, earlier before we were recording, when you were talking to me about the tap list, you're like, I know there's only one hazy IPA on, and my initial response to that was, that's plenty.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has their feelings about that style. When it's brewed well, it's delicious, but I don't know that it needs to be like, I don't know that a brewery needs to have like 5 hazy IPAs, because then that's at the cost of maybe a Hefeweizen or maybe a West Coast IPA. Do you want to talk about kind of like the beers that you are putting forth, and maybe kind of like how you choose the styles that you brew?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I do love hazies. We had, a couple on for a while. We have one on now. And to be honest with you, they're some of my favorite beers to actually brew, because there's a lot of science goes in.
Yeah, you must be like a water chemistry nerd then?
That's a little, not really. Okay, not at all. But, but I like the fact that the way that you brew it is so different than a lot of other beers, and there's a little bit of science on the haze retention and things like that. So trying to figure that out was, trying to crack the code. And I appreciated that, and I love brewing those beers. But at the same time, there's so many other beers. When I was growing up at Pyramid, in the craft beer industry, their main slogan was "Choice is good."
Yeah.
And that kind of got engraved into me a little bit, where they had a ton of different styles of beer. And I just really appreciate that. And then also, once we opened, I also started listening to my customers and what do you like? What do you want to see? And so, like, our in-between, the cherry vanilla porter was supposed to be a one-off, but it sold so well that we're like, okay, we're just going to keep that on tap year-round now, because it just kind of fit what everybody wanted. So we're like, okay, that's great. And then next people were like, I want to see a Hefeweizen. And said, okay, let's do a Hefeweizen. So we did traditional style Hefeweizen, and it's been selling really well.
While you were talking about the porter, I just watched Dan take a whiff, and his eyes opened up like 80% more than they were.
Yeah.
He's
Really
like, oh.
And then there's also, beers that I want, because you have to have a little bit of that in there too. So like the Goon, the West Coast IPA, to me is recipe is near and dear to my heart. Did a lot of studying on this product and really wanted the West Coast to mimic what I grew up drinking in the craft beer industry, and so wanted to stay true to that, and unapologetic about how dry, bitter, pine, grapefruit, all that kind of stuff. That's what it's supposed to be.
God bless you. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Oh my God, we need that. That's so important.
And so, we also do the cream ale, because that, I can't tell you how many people ask for that in Minnesota.
Of course.
And so
What
we
about
have
the
that up there.
Judicator?
The Judicator's not up there anymore, but
Is that gone now?
Yeah, it was. That will be back. It is a English strong ale, which is malty,
perfect.
delicious, just fantastic. Caramely beer.
Yeah.
Walnuts in there. It was good. But that'll be back in the fall. So, but we just try to rotate, keep some good beers coming through. We have a Belgian beer on. But my biggest thing is my biggest through line through all of the beers that I brew is try to be as true to style as possible. Try to make them as clean and drinkable and approachable as possible. Sometimes you can be a little too clever by half. Sometimes you can get in your own way when it comes to brewing beer. And so for me, I just wanted to make sure that I can, especially coming out of the gate as a new brewery, you have a lot to prove. And so I just wanted to make sure that everybody know, like, hey, this guy can brew decent beer. That's what I wanted more than anything. Just to be like, hey, I can brew a good beer. Come in and enjoy yourselves. Have some beer that you're going to want to come back time and time again. So for me, that was really, really important. And we'll get to the funky stuff. We have a whole line of beers that I have, in my back pocket here that we're going to do in the future, that are going to be fun and funky and weird and all that kind of stuff. But, the first year was all about establishing a good product.
Yeah. Well, so now I've had tastes of all 3 of these. So the Hefeweizen is really good. I love the aroma I love the fact that it's summer. I'm drinking it in summer.
Yeah.
The perfect summertime beer.
A lot of banana.
Like an idiot, when you started talking about the porter, I smelled it and took a sip of it. I know it's probably not the order that
Sure.
you'd want me to drink them in, but I'm
That's fine.
I'm a little bit of a wild card sometimes.
You're a professional. It's fine. You can do it.
I don't know about that, but the aroma is very enticing.
Yep.
The vanilla, the roastiness of the malt. And then what surprised me, I was like, okay, that's a lot of vanilla. Is it going to be too sweet? You take a
Yes.
sip, and the way that the cherry kind of presents itself is not sweet cherry,
Right.
but very like almost like tart. You kind
Right.
of get like really high percentage cacao, dark chocolate.
Right.
How you kind of get This is going to sound weird, but it's kind of like a tartness.
Yep.
Well, not sour, but you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I get like an amaretto
This
cherry
is
to it.
very
Right.
complex.
And it's also only 5.5%, which is
Yeah.
very approachable, and it still tastes like beer, which is a big deal for me when you're doing flavors in beer. Sometimes it gets a little lost. The beer does.
Yeah.
So
This
yeah.
is a really nice. This is such a good sip. Just a really nice kind of like.
Thanks.
I like when beer kind of takes you on a little trip
Yeah.
with different flavors that you get along the way of the sip, and then the aftertaste. You kind of like sit there, but you gotta exercise restraint because I want to keep going back. But it's kind of if you sit here, let it kind of linger, you're kind of rewarded with just some more sensations, more flavors and different things. That's really good. And then the West Coast, what is that? The
Goon.
The Goon. Just very satisfying in the sense that you're right. It's very nice and finishes dry. You get that bitterness. It's not over the top. Sometimes I think when a West Coast IPA goes south, it's because it's out of balance.
Right.
So it's either too malty and you don't get the promise of that bitterness at the end.
Right.
I think this one absolutely delivers on that.
Yeah.
And I like that I can see through
through it.
So that's a big thing.
Yes.
But yeah, this is these are all really good.
Yeah. The West Coast was one of those things where it's just like, I want it to be lip smacking good, where it's like you keep thinking about it, it keeps calling back to you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, you mentioned something about like carving out a place, carving out some space in the industry for Trove to kind of thrive.
Yep.
There's a lot of ways to spend a lot of money, and right now some people might say that like, well, why are you opening up a brewery? Why are you opening up a brewery in a city that already has two?
Sure.
What have been the challenges, or have you found that it's like kind of brought more people kind of in, or maybe I'm guessing there's quite a few folks that you've met that this is maybe their first engagement with craft beer.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's a really tough question because, I'm stubbornly optimistic about the craft beer industry, and feel like there's a lot of room to grow in Minnesota. I've seen what happens in California. I've seen what happens in Portland, Oregon, for instance, where there's like 100 craft breweries in the city limits alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just feel like Minnesotans have a lot of room for craft beer and love their craft beer, love their booze, but love their craft beer, and love to support places like this. I can't tell you the amount of customers I've had to come in that were just, really appreciate us being here and just, just tell us that they're happy that we're in their neighborhood and, just trying to build that local footprint. And, we get a lot of people coming in who are totally craft beer drinkers, but really like the cream ale, things like that. Their first foray into beers, which is kind of nice. It doesn't put them off, and so we're happy to be there for them for that. But we also just feel like the community is like kind of wrapped their arms around us a little bit, and we get an amazing group of regulars.
Yeah.
an amazing group of people that come in here, all the time, and we're looking to obviously build on that. But overall, I just feel like the craft beer industry has got room in Minnesota. Room to run. So I feel like we're just kind of almost getting started, not quite. You know what I mean? I think maybe early you talked about, we're in our like adolescent phase.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to mow the lawn. Blah.
Right, exactly. But I feel like, we're poised to do a lot of great things, and, we could be a beer mecca here for sure with a lot of craft breweries.
Yeah.
Breweries that are taking things more seriously. That produce a lot of great craft beer in the state, and I just want to be one of them. So,
yeah. So, I mean, we're recording this on, what is it, June 27th? So you've been at it for 8 months.
Yep.
What's been the biggest surprise about once you got your doors open and things are kind of rolling? Let's go with what's been the biggest positive surprise?
All right. I think the biggest positive surprise is the amount of positive feedback from the community that we have gotten, and not just the beer community. I mean, like from our customers here, about how much they appreciate that we're here, and that we're dog friendly. You know what I mean? That was kind of a big surprise for me. Actually, I didn't know how big of a deal that was going to be.
It's like the main reason why I don't want to bring my kid here.
Yeah. But it's just like it's a big deal, and people really appreciate that, and we'd like to keep that. And so I think that has been the community response has been amazing, and I think that's probably like the biggest positive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I just didn't know how it was going to go. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't know one way or the other. So, yeah.
What's been the biggest sticking point or obstacle? Or maybe something like this won't be a problem, and then you're like, sure as shit, wow, this is a problem, or this is really difficult. How do we solve this problem?
Sure. So, like events that you do, you're like, this is going to be awesome. This event's going to bring in all these people and all this kind of stuff, and you're like, oh no, that didn't work out. So you're learning as a proprietor, like what brings people in, what doesn't.
Yeah.
And so
That's
was
when
like
you find
trial
out
and
naked
error.
sushi is not for everybody. That's a very polarizing event, and it's not going to be.
For a
Nick?
brewery that doesn't sell sushi, that's terrifying.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's terrifying. But I'll tell you what, like competitive puzzling, that just took off. You know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah.
I would say this is gonna be like the launch point for Sarah Does Puzzles, right?
Yes, but
Like,
I'm gonna bring it back here because I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say that Trove Brewing actually started competitive puzzling in Minnesota.
Ooh.
In breweries.
Okay.
Because there was competitive puzzling before Trove. That was a big thing. So there's a whole subculture. Competitive puzzling was on the scene for a while. But my wife had this great idea of doing a competitive puzzling league in January during the winter months. And
That
we
would
did
be
it.
so cool.
Yes, and we did it, and it was a hit. We had like 40 plus people in here every single Sunday for like 6 weeks. It was great. It sustained. It was awesome.
have you seen it out and about in like other
Yeah.
places?
I've just heard of it, and I'm
yeah.
like, I don't know. My wife is a scientist.
Yeah.
She works at the U of M
Yeah.
in their barley breeding program,
Oh, nice.
and she's also psychotic when it comes to puzzles. She's taken the joy out of puzzles for me because
She's the person that we're looking for.
Well, you can have her.
She is our
So I'll
target
just send her
market.
down. Can
She's
you
our target
can
market.
you rent her out a room for the summer months?
Yeah.
That would make my life a lot easier.
No
but
problem.
she has these like puzzle organizers. She organizes them by color.
Wow.
Whereas me, I just dump the damn thing out on the table. I'm like,
And you
okay,
get it going, yeah.
All right. She's like, you can't do it that way. I'm like,
No.
What do you mean? This is how I puzzle. And she's like, well, you're puzzling wrong. And then I'm like, all right,
You're like, look.
I'm going to go to a brewery. You have fun with
Yeah.
your puzzle.
Ever since I had a kid, I've taken up Legos as an adult,
Yeah.
which my wife finds ridiculous. And
It's awesome. We're in the golden age of Legos.
We are in the golden age.
Yeah, I put my 1.5-year-old. He's 2 now, but I put my 1.5-year-old down at like 7:30, and I have like dick all to do the rest of the night, other than like drink in my basement, which I don't want to do every night. So I'm like, what else can I do that's productive? I started buying Lego sets. One night, my wife came home and she's like, "You organize them by like exact shape," and I was like, "It makes me do this so much faster." There's a system.
You
now.
sound like his wife, by the way. You know what
it's
I mean?
great.
So,
Yeah.
Oh my God. She's like, you can't do it that way.
No. But
I'm like,
I was going to tell you that the puzzling thing, though, I mean, they're very legitimately serious about it. They bring lamps, headlamps, all that kind of stuff.
Oh my God, I got to get down here for that.
But it's just like they're doing it in all the breweries now. But Sarah does puzzles, who is like, prolific now. She's like everywhere. But she came to us. She was like, "Yeah, I called and see if I could join your league, and you said it was full." And so that gave her the idea to then start going after all these breweries. And so now she sells out every single event. She does a great job.
She's up in Blaine.
I mean, like
she
has a friend that works for her mom. Her mom was fantastic. Like they just come in here and like pack the house. It's awesome. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, so
I mean, in Minnesota, you need things in the wintertime. Not everybody loves to ice fish. Yeah. Not everybody likes to snowshoe, So what are...
those are the two hobbies we have. That was it.
Exactly.
That was the end of the list.
That's all. Don't come to Minnesota if you're not into those things.
I was going to put drinking in there, but okay.
So, yeah, that's a given. That's what the rest of us do while you fools are out snowshoeing and ice fishing. What are some of the other activities that you have in the tap room? You already said there's no escape room, which was a little
disappointing.
Sure.
Yeah,
but
no problem.
What other things? I mean, you mentioned...
If you drink enough, then it becomes an escape room.
Well, hell, what we could do, Nate, is just pop out my contacts, and then it'll be an escape room to find my car in the parking lot. I'm blind as a bat.
There is one key on that key wall that is facing the opposite direction. If you find it, I'll buy you a beer.
Challenge, except you shouldn't have told me that, because now that's all I'm going to think about.
I know. It drives people crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah. Now, earlier you mentioned before the break, you mentioned that you do a Kolsch service.
Yes, so we do a Kolsch service.
Tell me about that.
So Friday and Saturday nights, 5:30 to close. We do a Kolsch service. So we have 7-ounce glasses called a Stunge, and we bring them out to you. So you start up a tab, they're $3.25 per. And we bring them out every time you are low or empty. We will bring them out and keep bringing them out to you until you scream uncle and tell us not to. It's great for parties. It's great for, people just hanging out. But Friday and Saturday nights, it's a great thing. But we do Kolsch service every single Friday and Saturday. It's a lot of fun. The biggest idea, though, behind it is that you want to keep that Kolsch nice and cold and crisp and easy drinking. So in summer months, it is it's really, really important because if you're especially out on the patio and you got a group of people, we'll come out with a tray of beer for you. We'll drop them off. And by the time you're done with it, it's still going to be cold and crisp and easy to drink. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing. And it's okay. Closed circuit to every brewery who does a Kolsch service. I know several breweries do them on Sundays. Okay, I'm gonna say Dual Citizen does theirs on Sundays.
Call them out.
and I go to that one. Thank God they started at like 2 p.m. Maybe 1 p.m. No, they go from like noon to 3 or whatever.
Sure.
That sounds right. Yeah.
And I love it. It's great. Their elbow bender is fantastic.
Yeah.
The people there walking around with the Kolsch, it's great. They give you the coaster. You'll get your
mark it off.
tick marks but like on a Saturday,
right?
I would be able to fill that thing up. I'm like, there's always the specter of the work week hanging out there waiting for you if you're drinking on Sunday.
Sunday.
So it's like, I can't really get it into fifth gear, if you know what I mean.
Right, but Saturday there ain't much going on.
Friday and Saturday nights, that would be really cool.
Yes, because to me, it's like you're supposed to go all the way around that coaster. That's the idea. And
I would love to do that. I feel like I just leave money on the table when I only have like four or five dashes. Like, I gotta go teach America's youth tomorrow. I know it's like a.
Yeah.
It's not. I can do better. I can do better. Yeah.
Yes, everybody out there.
Okay, so Kolsch service Friday and Saturday. You said it starts at 5:30.
5:30. Yep. So 5:30 close. So and then we also do other crazy events like comedy nights. You know what I mean? We're doing a psychic I think coming up here. So that should be.
That'll be cool.
You know what I mean? That would be crazy. You know what I mean? But we do the normal. We do trivia on Thursdays and we're going to be doing bags leagues here pretty soon. So you're going to be seeing that come. We're going to be doing bags leagues inside and outside actually. So we have a special place out on the side there. We do bags, and then we also set up bags in the brewery. So which is a lot of fun. So that brings a lot of people out. So we've been working with some of the more prolific bag players in the States. Like I think the other, 2 Tuesdays ago, we have the number one bag player in the state come in. It was awesome. So this guy sings 4 for 4 every time. It's awesome. So
Really?
it's a lot of fun.
Where was he accredited at? Like,
Yeah, I want to know how does one become
It's a bag school of Minnesota. It's at the U of M.
Sack
Yeah,
Toss
yeah.
University? That's where you go. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun though.
I was thinking you got to get a partnership going with LA Fitness where they could set up some type of circuit, and then
if you can successfully run 2 miles on the treadmill,
well,
you get a tick mark and you
do
come
that.
over for a beer.
Yeah, bingo. You do that, or you do you do your personal best on a bench press, and then there's no, not come over here. There's like a thing waiting for you. Somebody brings over one of those cold things. Like here you go. Just that would be money if you were just done with the leg press. You're like, well, hey, over here, I need another.
They come over a lot actually.
That's a
Because we-
great thing.
They do. They come over quite a bit, get beers. We have food trucks outside all the time. That's one thing I didn't mention, but we, I think Tuesday through Sunday we have food trucks,
That's great.
and they come out all the time, and and chow down and have a beer.
Well, so here's one thing I want to say, and like fitness-minded folks, this is really important because I see this hashtag "earn your beer," and I'm all for exercise. Like I've been
It's an
trying to
Instagram
like
page.
become
That's
like
a business.
I've
is a
become
business.
more in tune with exercise, but I don't think that like you need to put out like you don't need to earn your beer. I think that like is actually kind of like there's an ugly kind of gross side to that because I'm like you can drink your beer and you can exercise.
Sure.
And when you do those two things on the same day, that's great. But I don't think we should be, as a society, shaming people into indulging in things if they're not working out. Like, I just
Right.
think that creates a weird kind of an energy.
There's a barrier, like you're not allowed until you have
You do
done
this,
this.
yeah.
yeah, and that's how some people are. I'm like, you can like
That's weird.
The
let's
way-
fit it in when it works.
The way that this industry was sold to me back when I started like 9-10 years ago was never forget that at the end of the day, if you're selling a celebration. If
Yeah.
you had the best day at work,
Nice.
you got a promotion, a raise, whatever it is, you know what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
You're gonna go home, you're gonna crack a beer, and you say, "Hey, guess what? Like, sweetheart, honey, whoever it is,
Yeah.
I just got a bunch of money. Things are going great." Or your dog died, whatever it is, things are rough.
Sure.
You know what? I just need to relax, kick back, drop
Have a
my
beer.
shoulders. I'm gonna have a beer. I'm selling a celebration. This
Yeah.
is gonna make things a little bit better. I don't know. I agree with
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
I
It
just
doesn't
think,
have
like,
to be a reward.
Like, like you can drink a beer on a day that you haven't exercised, and the world is going to continue to revolve on its
yeah.
axis,
Yes,
and you
it
don't need
will.
to feel any shame about that. I just think that's one thing.
I
like,
do that all the time. By the way.
Yeah,
I will say though, like the amount of reward that it does feel like though, when you get done doing like a 5K and you're like, I should have like a glass of water or whatever it is, but you crack a Coors Light or something, just like a super light, crisp, easy drinking beer.
I
A
think
Trove
you
Kolsch.
meant
A Trove Kolsch,
the
side show?
side
show.
That's what you meant. Crack
I'm
ice
telling you.
cold side
If there was
show.
a brewery that was adjacent to my gym up in Coon Rapids, like I would be there left and right. that would be a problem.
I think
Your
this
wife
is
would
a-
think that was a problem. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's like, you're going to work out again? It's 3 a.m. What are you doing? It's like, I know the way in.
Yeah.
What are some of the popular food trucks that show up that people really get excited for? Because I think the whole food truck phenomenon and beer thing is really interesting.
Sure.
Obviously, like you mentioned earlier, if you're going to have, I mean, a brewery in Minnesota can have a kitchen. Urban Growler does it. Several
Correct.
other places do it.
Yep.
It is a whole nother
Right.
layer of complication, and
Yep.
I think right now with trying to find people to work is really tough.
Yep.
So that's like a added thing. And then you've got brew pubs. You know,
Right.
brew pubs have food. They can have guest taps and things like that. But then there's like, food trucks to the
Right.
rescue if you do not have food available. What are some of the food trucks that people really gravitate towards?
So the biggest one's a Bad Rooster, by the way, has been a great partner for us from day one. Super supportive, just bring people out. It's been awesome. We're getting some new ones like Parlor. Parlor has been a new one for us. And,
Oh, sure.
has been great smash burgers. Salsa Collaborative.
I love those guys so much.
yeah.
They've been
I still haven't.
Yeah.
You've never had a smash burger from Salsa Collab?
Supposedly it's like the
Bro.
best burger. Like I haven't had it, but they've been here one time.
They've won
and,
an award for it.
Almost sold out. So yeah.
Okay. I'm always very slow to embrace trends like that, though.
Yeah.
I didn't try rectangle pizza until last
I still haven't.
time,
Oh.
last like spring,
Yeah?
and it was very good.
yeah?
Yeah.
but like I don't know, was it the best ever?
But I do wanna call out some other ones, like some ones that are smaller that have been with us. Like,
let's
recently.
give some love to some.
So like Cluckin' Cups, this guy Ryan, he's just been amazing. It's a chicken finger, slushies for the kids, all that kind of stuff, which fills a niche we don't have for the slushie for the kids, and he's awesome. I mean, he's just been a great partner with us, and so it's been a Hara Foodie. Is a Japanese Hawaiian fusion food that comes out. They're brand new. Just lights out good. Just great stuff. I mean, there's all these food trucks that we've been partnering with that have just been just been great to work with and really fill a niche for us. Happy to have them. I mean, it's tough for us in the wintertime. You know what I mean? So we're looking for somebody maybe to park it here all winter. We'll see what happens. But yeah. So we'll see, but I mean, it's like wintertime. Your the food trucks like must decrease by half, if not more. So
sure,
so to have food, but
also like with the temperature. I mean, if it's negative 20, it's like that's really tricky.
I mean, last winter was a lot easier.
Yeah.
So, but the food truck thing, and then the one thing I did want to mention because you mentioned something about workers and all that kind of stuff. One thing I haven't mentioned is my staff.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to mention them because we hired 6 people, still have the same 6 people 8 months later, and they are amazing. They're just like, in it to win it for us, you know what I mean? And they have all daytime jobs and work other things, but they're here to like help us out, and it's just been like really nice to have their support. And so just want to make sure I shout out to the staff because they've been awesome.
That's cool.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
As you continue to move forward, I guess, I mean, we're in summertime.
Yeah.
So the big thing when I think of beer in summer, I think of All Pints North. Are you going to be at All Pints North?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Autumn Brew Review.
Autumn Brew Review. That's going to be an exciting one. We're working on a really cool, we'll say like pseudo-secret project right now.
Yes.
But we're tying a couple businesses
don't
together.
say that. I got 12 people that religiously listen to this. So that don't let the cat out of the bag for those 12. It used to be 7.
I won't tell about Galligan what's
That's
going on
pretty
just yet. But
my buddy Charles, he loves to. He's a devoted listener. So All Pints,
All Pints,
and
yep.
ABR. Okay.
Yeah, ABR. Yep. And then we'll be doing some other smaller, well, not smaller, but the Minnesota Craft Beer Festival at CHS Field this year.
Oh, in August?
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Oh, hell yeah.
Fun times. Well, it's been really cool to come down and talk beer with you all. I would say, folks, if you have not been down here, you put this on your list. The beers are very, very delicious. And I'm going to give a little pro tip. If you get the porter, let it warm up. Because it just
pops.
It just keeps getting better and better.
It pops.
And if you are craving I call it old school West Coast because like when I first got into craft beer, this was if you ordered an IPA, it tasted like this.
That's what you get.
And now we've gone
6 different
a lot
directions.
of different directions, which is that's great. But if you're looking for just a classic West Coast bitter dry finish, you really can't go wrong with the Goon. Yeah. I need to up my.
The contact
it's going to be an
procedure
escape
sounds
room
like
to get out of here because I'm trying to read the menu from across the room. But this has been a very enjoyable experience. I'm really excited
Thank
that
you, sir.
Things are going well.
Thank you.
It's just like a really cool space. I'm sorry it took me so long to get down here.
Oh, it's fine. I'm glad you got down here.
Yeah, so this is great. So Trove Brewing, Burnsville, Minnesota. If you haven't been, put it on your list. They've got great things. Try to, if you really want to have a good time, come on a Friday or Saturday night and do the coal service. Nate is patiently raising his hand. This is good. This is giving me PTSD to the school year. This is the reason I gave you a microphone.
I'm not good at like just jumping into conversation. If it's okay for me to mention it, so there is a brand new distribution program that is being built here at Trove as well.
Oh, right.
Oh.
Yes.
So one of the things that we're very excited about is that in the very near future, you'll be able to start finding Trove beer out in the world.
Out in the world,
you know,
yep.
like restaurants,
and tap rooms, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
bars, tap rooms, that kind of stuff. We're not there's not canning, there's not packaging in that sort
Okay.
of sense.
Correct.
But hopefully, your local bar, restaurant, tap room, you'll be able to find a sideshow Kolsch or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I wanted to ask, and I like to ask this because I think it's good, kind of like you were giving the shout outs to the food trucks, but who are some of the other people in the craft beer industry who've kind of really been helpful? I mean,
That's easy.
you hear so many good stories of like people just like
Sure.
giving help when in other industries that nobody would share their
No.
like trade secrets. So who do you want to give a shout out to?
It's a great question. So, I mean, I will start with Invictus. So, Nate, Previn and Nate have been mentors to me, through this whole process. And it's been pretty awesome. Previn sat me down and, we went through my financials, when we were doing our collaboration beer and with Grant City and walked me
Didn't
through.
he help build the bar top?
And he also helped build a bar top.
Oh,
By the way,
nice.
I
Yeah.
would be amiss to not mention that. He would be very upset with me.
This is pride and joy there.
Yes, but he helped me build our bar tops as well. But he also helped me with financials and walks my wife and I through all kinds of other questions. He has been a pillar, just helping us out. Every step of the way, he's been awesome and just a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
Nate has been amazing with getting the word out about the brewery and
Yeah.
promoting us and being just a really good advocate for us. And I mean, obviously he's financially invested, but it goes beyond that. You know what I mean? I feel like it's for us, it's a better thing. It's a good working relationship that we've had. So
I keep minding my P's and Q's because I want free beer for my wedding.
Right there you go. You got it. Done.
Nate, you're a great ambassador for Minnesota beer.
Absolutely.
You
I
really
try
are.
my best to be.
There's I mean, a lot of people know who you are, and a lot of people really say good things about you. I mean, you're heavily involved in the guild, and you do a nice job of really kind of raising up a lot of people with your positivity, and that's something I appreciate about you, just as a human.
It's a fantastic
just like
thing, yes.
you get it.
Yeah.
You get it. I mean, yes, that there's every reason for somebody to be because you're in distro and sales and stuff. It's that's competitive.
Yeah.
There's only so many tap lines.
Oh,
But the fact
I'm
that
super
you-
competitive, but I still believe rising tides for all ships, 100%.
Yeah, and-
This is such a collaborative industry.
And
where,
and that's when Nate and I met was, I worked for Grand City. He was selling us beer.
yeah.
And, that's how our relationship started. So it's for us, it was started a while ago and just kind of we had all kinds of conversations about starting Trove and I pitched him some ideas and, we just kind of grew from there. So it's just for me, it was, Nate was a cornerstone. So really
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah,
So-
you're just one of the good ones
Yeah.
in the craft beer scene, and I just want to thank you for doing that because it's
Cheers.
it's
Yeah.
something that it's not a rarity, but it's not also it's not the expectation, I think. So you do a nice job with that, and
Yeah.
I just appreciate that. As I've gotten to know you, you're one of the good ones. So
Yeah.
thanks
I
for
appreciate
being you.
that. I won't
Yeah.
cry during this moment, but a little bit later once we get off
But
air.
I
You
do-
will when we sit down and do a puzzle.
Yeah, I do want to shout out some other breweries though.
Yeah.
So when I first opened up our first brew day, we had a stuck mash and I needed some rice holes, and so we called around and 9 Mile hooked me up with 2 bags free of charge.
Nice.
And they're just amazing. The brewer, and also sent my dad home with some beer. So I just can't thank them enough. On top of that, I got to sit down with one of the owners a year and a half before we opened. I talked to him for 2 hours. He fed us beer and we talked and he was just a huge help for kind of guiding me what I was trying to do here for 9 Mile's been amazing. On top of that, Boathouse, Emmett over at Boathouse has been
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
So
I need to get down there.
it's a cool
I've,
space.
I've talked with him several
Yeah.
times.
he's fantastic. He's just
super
so
nice.
like a wealth of knowledge and just willing to help at any point in time. And so Emmett's been fantastic. So I mean all of these. Oh, and then I can't go Unmapped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
can't believe I
Oh, wait, sorry.
haven't talked about it yet.
Can you say
We
it?
just did
Yeah.
a collaboration beer with Unmapped last week.
Hey,
So-
that's exciting.
Yeah, so
okay.
we're over there with
Derek
Derek.
has been on here several times.
Yeah, with Derek and Steve and everybody over there, MJ. I mean, just an amazing group of people, so nice. And we took lots of notes and learned from them. But they're just like the first person in line to to help you out. And I don't know, they've been awesome. We did a collaboration. We did a sour over there, so you can, stay tuned for that as soon as it comes out. I think it's going to come out like mid-July, I think.
Okay.
But that was our first collaboration beer, and it kind of ties back, actually, if I'm going to loop back. My wife and I were sitting at Unmapped one day on a Saturday, and my wife was like, I think it's time to pull the trigger on Trove. And that's when we decided to pull the trigger on Trove, was actually sitting at Unmapped and decided like this is what we need to do. This is what we're going to do. So
What's funny for me is that my investment option, like when it is
Yeah.
I decided like I was gonna definitely commit to this,
Yeah.
was also spent with me and my family over at Black Stack.
yeah,
As we were sitting down having a beer and like talking to Scott too, because he was over there kind of chiming in my ear.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, all right, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I mean, it's like, to me, that's where Unmapped was one of those catalysts for us, and so it's just awesome. So yeah, so those are the people I'd like to give a shout out to.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people in this beer industry that are just so giving of their time, their experiences. So I mean, what's one piece of advice that you would offer to somebody else who's starting a brewery? What's the thing that you feel like in your obviously 8 months of being open, but then there's the time before that. Like, what's a sagely nugget that you'd like to throw out there?
Well, I mean, a bank you can trust, but more than that is I would say more money for marketing right out of the gate, right away. To me, that was like the biggest thing that maybe we didn't do that we should have done, and now we're trying to claw our way back a little bit. But it's like, for me, marketing was a big deal. More money, like, put that in your budget. Make that a line item. Make that a big deal.
Yeah.
And make that part of the money you're getting from whomever, wherever. But marketing, getting the name out there, all that kind of stuff. More. And so to me, that would be something that I would tell people, because you can brew great beer. You know what I mean? You could run a good tap room, but if nobody's coming in to drink it, you know what I mean? So that's the biggest thing that you got to do.
Yeah.
So it's like marketing, and get out there, get your name out there, get in the community, get those things done early, start those relationships early. So, yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this has been really fun. I want to thank you both for having me down here. Trove Brewing. Get in here, try the beer, experience the ambiance, find the key that's a different way. I'm like a
direction.
third of the way through, and I'll be here probably till you close with my magnifying glass. But thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
love getting together to meet new people and talk beer, and this has just been a great afternoon. So
Thank you,
again, this is an episode of a one pint stand reporting from Trove Brewing in Burnsville, Minnesota. Cheers. Let's get at it. Well, as you just heard, there's a lot of excitement surrounding the newest brewery in Burnsville, Minnesota, Trove Brewing Company. I want to thank Jeff and Nate for taking time to sit down and talk beer. What really strikes me about Jeff Crane is how absolutely humble he is about beer. Now, he's been in the industry a long time, and yet he talks about beer with the giddiness of somebody who just bought The Joy of Homebrewing and started reading it for the first time. And I really respect that excitement and passion. Now, we chatted quite a bit longer after we stopped recording, and he was just wanted to dive into all things beer and, give me an excuse to talk. I was really, really grateful for that opportunity. I want to also say that Nate was key in setting this up, and I'm grateful for him taking time out of his day to join us. Like I said during the show, put Trove Brewing on your list of places to visit in Minnesota. Hit up one of their puzzle nights, or just go down there solo and sit at the bar and try to see if you can spot the one key that's turned the wrong way on the wall. It's a great thing for the Burnsville community that Trove is there to quench their thirsts. I want to also give a huge thanks again to the sponsor for this episode, First Draft Tap Solutions. Whether you need someone reliable to clean your lines, or you need to install a new draft system, or get technical support, Brett Erickson at First Draft Tap Solutions is your guy. Email him at firstdrafttapsolutions@gmail.com or give him a call at 612-839-5304 if you need some quality assistance. With that, this has been another episode of A One Pint Stand, a Minnesota craft beer podcast where the pants stay on, but the caps come off. Cheers.
This is our first time that me and the wife are not spending the nights in the van.
We should check on Nate.
You call it a repke. That's the move. It's called a repke. Shout out to Bob from St. Paul Brewing. He started that 10 years ago.
Nice, all right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He used to, not to speak for Bob entirely, but he used to go and like bathe out in Lake Superior. Like he would wake up or in the middle of the night, depending on how many beers are like flowing. Like that was the way he washed himself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
that's it. My friend Charles, like I think he got swimmer's itch last year or 2 years ago. He like there's like on the walk back to like Hoops. There's like this stairway that goes into the lake. He kept jumping in there and like, I'll see you at Hoops, Charles. I can't be part of this anymore.
I've never got